Hello again, I'm Robert Fithen, and in this video I want to talk about the records that I got for Record Store Day 2024. You know what, I might have gotten a little carried away this year, actually. Ended up getting 14 records. That's probably what happens when you hang out in a record store for hours on Record Store Day. You just end up getting a lot. A lot of great ones, though, like the 30th anniversary of Blur's Parklife album, released in 1994. Always really liked this album. I had it on CD for years and years. It took me a little while to get into it, though, because the worst tracks are like tracks 2 and 3, kind of annoying. The Tracy Jacks and then the title track Parklife, I'm not a fan of those at all, but the rest of the album is great. I love how a lot of the songs sound different from each other. That's pretty much my favorite kind of album when that happens. You get the cinematic beauty of To the End. You get kind of dreamy pop there with Clover Over Dover, and This Is a Low, and of course the club banger that kicks the whole thing off, Girls and Boys. So a lot of great stuff on here. Damon Albarn and his whistling S's throughout the album. You can't have a Blur album without that. But the thing about this one is it's a limited edition and it's a Zoetrope album, which, check out this vinyl. This is my first Zoetrope vinyl record, and look at it. That's neato. And the thing about it is when it spins on the turntable, the whole thing about a Zoetrope is it's supposed to make a motion picture. It's supposed to look like the dogs are running. But as you can see here, for whatever reason, it doesn't on my turntable. It doesn't look like that at all. Both sides are like this. I don't know if I'm missing something or if I'm supposed to do... Maybe I'm supposed to turn on a strobe light or something, but it doesn't look like running dogs. It just looks like a Blur. So yeah, like a Blur. Okay, I get it. Very clever, guys. Anyway, I guess I'll wait for my next Zoetrope vinyl to actually see some real action. Some great action on this, though. Got the Parliament album I've been wanting for years. A new Record Store Day release. It's Osmium, their debut from 1970. This is a great album, and I'm so glad to finally have this. It is, of course, a Record Store Day reissue, but sounds great. I mean, this thing is lively. It is just up. It's tracked pretty loud. You don't have to crank it all the way up or anything like that, but then again, it's not overmodulated. It just sounds incredible. Parliament sounding a little more like funkadelic because it's so early. The later Parliament stuff kind of has a tendency to kind of drag on and on and on. It gets kind of repetitive, you know, like 8-minute songs and 9-minute songs, things like that. But this is the early days of Parliament, like I said, their debut, and you get a lot of great tracks on here. They're, 4 or 5 minutes long and whatever, and they move on to the next one. Just like the Blur, a lot of variety on here. You even have a song with a steel guitar called Little Old Country Boy. It's, I'm not a peeping Tom, I'm just a little old country boy. You get the wackiness that you can expect from Parliament. They haven't quite gone into their characters that keep coming up in later albums, like Sir Nose and people like that, and the dude that wants the Aqua Boogie guy and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you get some early stuff from Parliament, and this is some funky stuff on here. There's some rock mixed with funk. Actually, it starts off with like an instrumental track that's a great mix of rock and funk, but it only goes on for like 30, 40 seconds or whatever, and then it just goes into the other song. I'm like, man, I was actually kind of getting into that. You want to keep doing that, but it never returns to that. But anyway, first song, I call my baby Pussycat, and I spell it Pussy. That only spells half of puss, but like a part of Pussycat. But anyway, you got that on there. You got Moonshine Heather. If you just read the track titles, Little Old Country Boy, Moonshine Heaven, Oh Lord, Why Me Lord. It sounds like a country album, but some great stuff on here. Not only do you get the original Osmium done incredibly well with the sound quality, this is actually a double album on this. This is like a green that I remember seeing in The Exorcist. Remember that color green? That's where I saw that before. But some nice inner sleeves here, some nice liner notes. I like lyrics, and I like this too. It shows the original labels, single labels and LP labels, and some of the single sleeves that these songs originally came in. And it is a 2-album set. Originally 10 tracks, 5 on each side, but on here, side 1 and side 2 have 4 tracks, and then the remaining 2 tracks are on side 3, so it's kind of spaced out differently, and then you get some previously unreleased outtakes, and some B-sides too, breakdown, a B-side, and then you get the extended version of that as well. It says that the B-side appears on vinyl for the first time. How does a B-side from 1970 appear on vinyl for the first time in 2024. I'm not sure how that happens. Must have been one of those styrene singles originally. But yeah. Did I also mention that even though this is now a double album, it's not a gatefold, just a single jacket in there. Still some great songs on here, like the song I was mentioning earlier, the Why Me, Why Lord. That actually features what sounds like a harpsichord playing Pachelbel's Canon in D. So a lot of different sounds on here, which is what you can expect from the early Funkadelic and early Parliament albums. This one, of course, being their debut, as I mentioned. You got a beautiful song on here, The Silent Boatman. A lot of great stuff on here. You might want to, maybe not so much the one where it's like My Automobile, like if you want to ride home, you're going to have to kiss me. No, you're going to have, no, I don't want to kiss you. Yo, kiss me. It turns into that kind of thing. It is 1970. Don't forget that. Things were, I guess, different back then. 4 sides. Like I said, they spread out the tracks originally over 2.5 sides, and then you get the bonus tracks and the B-sides. Those sound so good, though. They sound like they're part of an album. This sounds just great all the way through. It's not like a great album and then a bunch of filler. Even the bonus tracks are great. There's Red Hot Mama and Loose Booty. You might recognize those song titles from later Parliament albums, but these are actually Funkadelic albums, but these are completely different versions of that. They're not the same songs at all. They just have the title. Great long instrumental on here before the Loose Booty song. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So glad I got this. Parliament Osmium, their debut from 1970 on Record Store Day. Here's another one. Wasn't too sure how this was going to sound. The Doors in Stockholm on September 20th, 1968. Says, you turn out the lights and grab your favorite beverage here on the hype sticker and just listen to the Doors in their prime. I was concerned about the sound quality of this. I almost didn't get this. It's a triple album, so this isn't exactly cheap. But I was concerned because the last time they issued a Doors basically bootleg concert like this for Record Store Day, it sounded like something rerun recorded on What's Happening. Remember that with the Doobie Brothers standing there with the trench coat and the recorder in his pocket eating popcorn? That's what it sounded like. This one definitely sounds better as soon as the music comes on. First of all, it's in stereo. You got some nice bass in this, which you don't usually get with concerts like this when they've been previously unreleased and sitting in a vault and whatever. But nice bass, nice music, very clear sound. And then here comes Jim Morrison's vocals. And that's the end of that. The vocal, he sounds like he's singing into a broken microphone. I don't know what the deal is. And then at one point during the song, when the music's over, it has a very, very long song. About 2/3 of that, there's no mic anymore for Jim Morrison. He's just singing. You can barely hear him. He's way, way down in the mix. It's like he either dropped his mic and didn't realize it because, I can see that. Or the mic broke or something. I don't know what's going on, but there's no mic for the rest of that song. This is actually 2 shows in Stockholm the same date. You've got the early show and then the late show. The early show only taking up 2 sides. The late show taking up the other 4 sides. So if I was going to go to one of those, I guess the better one would have been the late show. And now through the magic of video editing, the sticker and shrink wrap has disappeared, so I can show you this nice trifold here. Open it up, and this is what you get on the inside. So that's pretty cool, the way that opens like that, and inner there, and then the back cover there for the Doors. Like I said, 2 concerts. But on the same day, though, you got the early concert and the late show. The late one, still, the music sounds great. The microphone on Jim Morrison sounds a little bit better. It's still got that overmodulation, still distorted. Yes, even more distorted than this cheap microphone I keep talking into. I promise I will get a better microphone at one point. But when the music's over, is also on the night show. They repeat a couple of songs, including Light My Fire. But thankfully, in this time, when the music's over, Jim Morrison's microphone is on the entire time. So that's the good thing. I've actually heard this concert a couple times because this has been unofficially released several times, several different variations, most of them on CDs. It's a legitimate stream on YouTube. I don't know how they got the rights to that. But, this is definitely an improvement in quality as far as the music goes. But Jim Moore, I guess they could not fix that microphone, or maybe they just didn't want to. A triple album with color vinyl as well. All 3 records the same color. And it's this nice kind of turquoise blue there. So that's pretty cool there. So decent concert bootleg type thing. I guess it was originally a radio show, not really a bootleg, but microphone makes it sound like one. Here's another one. Jim Croce Live, the final tour. This is also on color vinyl as well, which I don't think the little blurb on the Record Store Day site actually said it was color vinyl, but it's basically the same color as the Doors one. Love that they did the label there to replicate the old ABC, later ABC label that Jim Croce's last album was on. I Got a Name, so that's when this would have probably come out, if it would have come out at that time. But this is a pretty generous helping for being just one record. It's Jim Croce live in concert, all acoustic, of course. It's not like a huge band or anything. Just the two dudes. The same guy there that I believe was with him when he was on the Midnight Special. Have you ever seen that episode? But this features, it's not loaded with hits. You're not going to hear like Jim Croce's greatest hits. There's only like maybe 3 on here that were singles. Like it starts off with Operator. That's not the way it feels. You've got Roller Derby Queen on here, which was kind of a minor hit. You Don't Mess Around with Jim is a part of this, and that is pretty much it. Great album tracks, though. That's the thing about Jim Croce albums to me. Every song on there is stellar, whether it's a single or not. There's a few songs on here that are not on any Jim Croce albums, and a lot of longer monologues. I mean, right away, track 2, he goes off on this. He just kind of really is into the talking to the audience for a long time, like it's a separate track. First 2, he's talking about throwing up. So it's a little different side of Jim Croce. He's talking about throwing up and that kind of thing, talking about how he wrote the song Roller Derby Queen and met the girl in the bar and all that. Then he goes into the song, talks about, he's got the Speedball Tucker, so he does an introduction to that song, talking about all the different kinds of uppers that you can take when you're a truck driver that's got to drive cross country. And then he does this song. You're going to hear a different side of Jim Croce on here like you've never heard him before. The Ball of Currymure, where he takes on the voice of an Irishman and does basically, it's not really a limerick, but it's those kind of lyrics. And it goes on, and it gets pretty raunchy. So, I mean, it's all about an orgy, basically. So if you ever wanted to hear Jim Croce sing with a brogue about an orgy, the album is finally here for Record Store Day. Jim Croce Live, the final tour. One kind of chilling moment early on in a monologue, the second monologue. He actually insults the Maharishi and talks about him having a Learjet. So mentioning an airplane on this record. That is did not expect that to come up. But yeah, great album. Sound quality. You know, it's not perfect. It's not big and full and warm sounding like you'd want an acoustic show to be. It basically sounds like a really good bootleg for the most part. A good bootleg though. But yeah, Jim Croce, I'd recommend that. I liked it. I'm not unhappy I got that. And of course, you get to hear the raunchy side of Jim Croce and the vomiting side of Jim Croce as well. And if you saw my live video, you know that I decided to wrap things up when the store put on the jazz music. Here is what the Jazz Dispensary vinyl looks like. If, I do have any jazz fans still watching the channel, that's what that looks like. Pearl Jam came out with a Midwest variant of their latest release. This is what that looks like. Also got the Bottle Rockets. I've had this on CD since it came out, so I didn't get the record. But yeah, I love the CD. Radar Gun, a regional favorite. Gotta love the Bottle Rockets on red vinyl. Here's what that looks like. Tesla's Reel to Reel, also on red vinyl. Checking that out here. Chris Isaak, the Sun, the expanded Sun Sessions record. And then there's this release from The Rain Parade, originally released in 1983. It is Emergency Third Rail Power Trip. That is the name of the album, originally as just a single album. Now a double album. Record 1, the original album, and then Record 2 is the outtakes and the demo versions, a couple of live tracks, a couple of B-sides on there as well. There are The Rain Parade. The little side panel here comes off. But yeah, this is kind of an overlooked album from 1983, and it sounds not like 1983 to me. This does not sound like the 80s. This sounds more like early 90s, maybe some Britpop, maybe some of that neo-psychedelic stuff that was around for a year or two, kind of mixed in there, a little jangle pop, which I'm usually not a fan of at all. But this stuff is really pretty good. It just sounds so fresh. And again, I can't believe this is 1983. They didn't become popular because I'm assuming the world just was not ready for them. There's what the inside of the gatefold looks like. and the back as well. These guys were part of something called the underground, the Paisley Underground from New York City. That's where they're from. And yeah, great album artwork there, and the remaster sounds great. Of course, disc 2, like I said, the demos and the live tracks, it sounded like they were recorded in kind of a basement bar. Definitely the lo-fi thing there. But yeah, some great music on here. It kind of gets into a little bit of dream pop as well. There's the 2 inner sleeves. And of course, you get the wonderful color vinyl, as record 1 is this beautiful red color. And then the demos and outtakes, nice yellow. But I really like the red one. But yeah, all kinds of cool liner notes. You get... you know, some blurbs here from some people you might know from Buffalo Tom. Also, Vicky Stevenson from the Bangles shows up with a review. I guess a couple of these guys used to be in a band with Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles. So they got that kind of connection going on. But yeah, they don't really kind of sound like the poppier side of the Bangles, that's for sure. But it is great, you know, kind of like I said, kind of like pop music from the early 90s more than the early 80s, to my ears anyway. The lead vocalist... his vocals do get a little light and lilting for my tastes on a couple of tracks, but the music is stellar. The music is where it's at. They've got the swirling guitar effect. They got a little bit of fuzz tone going on in there. They even got a sitar. Definitely sounded a little bit psych at times. Like I said, a little jangly at times as well. It's a great mix of different styles kind of thrown together. It totally makes sense. You know, I'm not a big fan of songs like an hour and a half ago. That one's kind of okay. And then the end one on side 2, the ballad Caroline song. But side 2, I think, is actually the better side. And what you probably want to do is listen to the original album, you know, side 1, side 2, the record 1. Listen to that a few times and then get ready for the demos and outtakes. Because the demos and outtakes, I think, are more for true fans who were aware of this band for the last few, you know, the last 40 years and are ready for demos and outtakes. But yeah, definitely check out record 1 on here. That's where the magic is. And then the first couple of tracks on the second record are really cool too. What's She Done to Your Mind? They've got like a different version of that on there. That's probably my favorite song on here. And there's 2 versions of it. So, but yeah, great band. And it's one of those bands that I don't think a lot of people know about. I wasn't really that familiar with them. I think I'd heard the name The Rain Parade before. But that's one of the great things about Record Store Day is it's an opportunity to get some of these lost albums that just didn't make it at the time for whatever reason. Give them kind of a second chance at life. If this was just kind of re-released in the middle of November or something and it wasn't a Record Store Day thing, I think it would be very overlooked. But Record Store Day, you know, kind of gives it that little extra bit of publicity there, being on the Record Store Day list. So definitely check out the Rain Parade. I don't know how many of these record stores would have ordered, but it's definitely not going to be like a huge release. So you might be able to find this if not a lot of people are looking for it, like maybe even the day after, or, you know, it's one of those kind of things. But check it out, the Rain Parade and Emergency Third Rail Power Trip. And then there is 300% Dynamite, this excellent compilation from Soul Jazz Records, which obviously is a lot more than Soul Jazz. They also have that one that I'll show later on, that new compilation, Punk 45, so a lot more than just Soul Jazz. Like ska, soul, rocksteady, funk, and dub in Jamaica. That's what it says there. And that's exactly what this is. A double album, but another one that is just a single sleeve, not a gatefold. But 2 great records that come on this beautiful blue vinyl. And what they lack in being a gatefold, they certainly make up for with these excellent inner sleeves that show all the different soul jazz recordings covers on there. And I love when they do inner sleeves like that. That's my favorite kind of inner sleeve, was just an array, like the old style where they advertise all the other records on from the label. And it's a double, so these are all different. It's not like the same one twice. So yeah, it just kind of makes you look at these and go, okay, yeah, well, I got to get that one, I got to get that one, and that one looks interesting. So very, very smart marketing there from them. But anyway, the album sounds great. There was another one that with the same artwork, still called 300% Dynamite, that was released back in, I think, 1999. It's also a 2 LP set, but it is a completely different track listing than this, and it's a lot fewer tracks too. It's one of those records where it's like, there's 3 songs on one side and 4 songs on the next side. So that is not this one. This one, 5 songs per side, so it's very filled out. It's a great listen. I would not get the one that's, you know, shorter and was released, you know, back in the late 90s. This is the way to go here with all kinds of different sounds on here. They really vary it up. You know, a lot of reggae stuff can sound very similar, but this is, of course, got the dub and the rock steady. There's even some, like, a song, some calypso in here. There's even a song that sounds like it could be from Club Babalu. Which one is that? That's the Freddie Munnings Orchestra with Coconut Woman. You know, that's not reggae, but that is on here. Basically sounds like you're in Jamaica and somebody's playing a jukebox and a little small bar, and that's a great sound. So yeah, a lot of variety on here, yeah, starts off with Under Me Sling Tin, which is Wayne Smith, which is a song, he doesn't want cocaine, basically. We're going to start off with, I don't want cocaine. I don't know who offered Wayne Smith cocaine, but he does not want it. So get out of here, Dillinger. That Cocaine in My Brain song is not on here. But you also have, it's funny, you have a cover of Chicago's Make Me Smile on here as well, which, you know, I usually don't like cover songs, but that one's actually better than the original. That's from Jackie Paris. Some names on here you're probably not going to recognize. Bobby Ellis. We got Archie and Lynn. You got Glenn Adams, Johnny Clark. You might recognize, though, Althea and Donna and Uptown Top Ranking. That's probably the most popular song on here. They got the roots, where the roots, you know, it was huge, like, you know, back in the, I think, early 80s, late 70s. Althea and Donna, that kicks off side 2. But just a lot of great stuff on here. Like a few instrumentals thrown in as well to kind of keep it, you know, to kind of cleanse the palate there with the vocals. And yeah, it's great. I'm not really sure who that is on the cover because I'm not familiar with a lot of these artists, but this is the way I want to hear them. Like I said, it sounds like a stack of Jamaican 45s. And if you're going to do the 45s for real, I mean, you're going to get Jamaican 45s. A lot of them are very poorly made. They're in very poor condition. So a nice compilation like this is probably the way to go. And this does have kind of varied levels of recording quality as well on some of these songs, but they all still sound great. The poorer recorded ones at least sound authentic, like the Big Youth song "Cool Breeze." It's got that, very lo-fi, but Jamaican particular kind of lo-fi that can be pretty smooth. So yeah, 300% Dynamite, nice one from Soul Jazz Records. Glad I picked that one up. And the last one is Tad, and this is Infrared Riding Hood. This is Tad's last album from 1995. These guys were part of the Seattle grunge scene, but they never really got anywhere, obviously, near the popularity of, like, you know, Nirvana or Alice in Chains or Soundgarden or any of them. Mostly because the lead singer didn't have the look. You had to have the look. You know, he had to look more like John Popper from Blues Traveler, and that doesn't go, I guess, with the grunge Seattle thing, and that was the rumor, is these guys... well, they also had a lot of bad luck, too. They were sued for their first album cover, they were sued for their single cover, and the band didn't even have anything to do with that, so, yeah, they had a lot of a string of bad luck, but they're a decent grunge hard rock band, and this really stands up. I wasn't nearly as familiar as this one as I was from their earlier one called Inhaler, and that one we used to play in college all the time. And unfortunately, these guys never really got past that college radio type exposure. They didn't really have any big MTV hits, or they didn't really have any big commercial radio hits, not even the one, like Screaming Trees had the one, Nearly Lost You. Also had a Record Store Day release. But Tad was just always kind of left in the background. So I never really was that familiar with this album. And it's a great hard rock from the 90s, pretty much. Just like you'd want it to be. The very first song, actually, sounds like... I think there's vocal harmonies on there that remind me of the very first Foo Fighters album. Just the first one, though. That came out in 1995, but it's got the typical 90s, vocoderized vocals. It's not like he's yelling through a phone, but then they have the harmonic stuff too, and so yeah, it's a great release. Now, I don't have a lot of 90s vinyl. I think a lot of that's better. I'm fine with the CDs because I think a lot of it was conceived with a CD in mind, and it just plays better on a CD because that's how it was intended. But I never had the compact disc of this, so yeah, glad to finally get the album and give this a listen, and definitely glad I chose to pick this one up for Record Store Day. Yeah, some of these actually have a hype sticker on them. I mentioned this in my live video. I noticed some of these have a hype sticker and some of them do not. So if you're into the stickers, got to have that sticker on there. you might want to make sure that you get the Tad infrared riding hood with the sticker in the corner. But yeah, this thing rocks pretty much all the way through. I got some crunchy guitar going on, some really heavy riffs, and nothing that's really like blowing you away. It's just a kind of a solid release all the way through. I wish these guys could have blown up with at least one signature song that everybody knows, but it just was not in the cards for Tad. But yeah, decent release here for Record Store Day. Finally glad to pick this up, making its U.S. vinyl debut. I think there was an import vinyl release that you could get back from 1995, but I think that thing's obviously skyrocketed in price. So that's going to wrap up part 1 of my Record Store Day video, but I still have all of these releases that I got to listen to and review, so tune into my next video where I will do that, and yeah, good times. Gandalf, got to check that out and see how good that sounds next to my unofficial one. Yeah, Ramones demos and you know, all this great stuff. I still have to unpack these and check these out a few times and then give you reviews of those. So that video's coming soon. Also in that video, I've got some footage from Riverbend Records that I did not show in the live video, where I'm outside in front of the store when they're open, and I'm going down the line. We're asking people what they're in line waiting for. So I've got some guests in the video letting you know what they're in line waiting for. So that was pretty interesting to see kind of what everybody, it was totally different. Everybody had like completely different music tastes. They were waiting for mostly completely different things. It wasn't like last year when like 30% of the people were in line for Taylor Swift or maybe one other thing, and then, you know, it was kind of, I mean, everybody wanted something else. So that was great to see all that kind of variety. So that and much more coming up in my next video. If you missed the live video, that is still online, where I'm going through the store, showing all the releases and the back covers and stuff, and talking to the people that are there, the customers and everything. And unfortunately, the video is like this. It's a vertical video. I couldn't do anything about that. Explain all that in the live video. So a lot of videos for Record Store Day for you to check out on my channel if you're into that. So I'm Robert Fithen, and thank you so much for watching. And hopefully I will talk to you again next time. Yeah, I had to get one in there on the last sentence.